Welcome to the AimsWeb Plus Remote Learning Considerations portion. For measures in grades 2 through 8, besides the ORF, students will be using the online assessments via TestNav. So you will assign students the progress monitoring that you would like them to do. You receive usernames and passwords for the students, and you will give those out to students. So when students are logging in to complete progress monitoring, they must use the TestNav app that is downloaded to their Chromebook or device. If they try to go into the assessment through searching in the web search tab, they will not be able to get into the app. They need to log in, or they will not be able to get into TestNav. They need to log in through the app. If students are using Chromebooks through APS, TestNav should be downloaded on the computers. They should look for the Apps tab at the bottom left corner of their screen, as you can see in the picture right here. For all measures K1 and ORFs grades 1 through 8, you'll be using the digital record forms. So if we were in the building, this is where students have a piece of paper that you give them and they're reading from it, and you're on your computer recording their performance. In a remote setting, we are going to have to project those PDFs and present them to students. We would suggest you are arranging one-on-one progress monitoring sessions through Google Meet. And again, like mentioned with TestNav, if you can get into the habit of selecting one student each day to remain on Meet after group, this is a good way to get into a progress monitoring routine. So you're not getting into a situation where you're at the end of the month and you have to do it all. It's good to just do it throughout the month. So when using these digital recording forms, we suggest presenting your screen to the student and sharing the downloaded PDF. So again, in the school setting, this would be the printed copy that you place in front of a student. In just a minute, I'll show you an example of this. On a split screen or a second device that is unseen to the student, you would score the assessment on AimsWeb by logging in. Within this portion of the Google Classroom, you're going to find several other helpful resources that we've linked in that AimsWeb Plus has created to support you. So before I move on in the PowerPoint, I'm going to show you an example of how I would present my screen to a student and show you how I would record on a split screen. So I'm going to go to AimsWeb, maybe. And I have already logged in. This is my home screen, and I'm going to go to How Can We Help? Once I go to How Can We Help, I'm going to go to Other Resources. Right now, I'm looking for downloads. I'm going to go to Test Materials, and I'm going to go to Progress Monitoring Stimulus Books. You want to make sure that you're not clicking on Benchmark. There's also Benchmark stimulus materials, but we are not doing benchmark assessments. We are looking for the progress monitoring. I'm going to click on that, and then you're going to see I have a lot of options here. I know that the student I'm going to be progress monitoring is doing a first grade ORF, so I'm going to click on the first grade ORF booklet. I would download these to my desktop, especially the grade levels that I know I'll be using frequently. So now I have my entire stimulus book here in front of me. On my split screen, which I have here, I have already pulled up the ORF that I'm going to be doing with a student so that when I meet with them, I'm ready to go. This is the side of the screen that they will not see. I can see up here that I need grade 1, form 7. So I'm going to scroll, I'm going to look down at the bottom and I can see where form 7 is. It's that first one. So I have this up. I would have this ready before I had my group or before students were coming on, and so I would just have it prepped. I would assign my Google Meet on the left-hand side where on the tab where my stimulus page is. I would have the student come on, and I would present my screen. This is what they would see. On my other screen, I would have them begin. They would be reading over here, and as they're reading, I can click and record as they go. And that is how you would present your screen and record on a second screen. All right, let me move back over here. Within the resources that are provided through AimsWeb, they refer frequently to a facilitator as a support person in progress monitoring. The facilitator would be a parent, adult, or an older sibling in the home who is able to support students during remote learning. When possible, we would love for you to collaborate with a facilitator to support progress monitoring of students. We know that this isn't always the reality for our families, that they often have other children that they're looking after, that maybe they are not even home, the student is by themselves. We understand that, but we do want you to take into consideration the fact that there may be members of their family who are able to support you in supporting our students with progress monitoring. And this would be included in those indirect service minutes that are written into our IEPs. You can refer to the facilitator guidance for remote assessment document that is linked in this Google Classroom to view suggestions on how you might work with families to support remote assessment. So progress monitoring expectations in a remote setting are basically the same as they would be if we were in building, if it was a typical school year. The expectation is to progress monitor using AimsWeb monthly at both the instructional and grade level, and this remains the same in remote learning. We do recognize that the remote setting presents significant challenges in obtaining valid progress monitoring data. We just ask that you do your best to collect that monthly data. And we ask that you work as school-based ESS teams and then also use your ESS TOSA as a resource to help you problem solve on how to complete monthly progress monitoring. We are all learning this together. This is new for everyone. And so we do invite you, if you do find ways that to be successful, please share those with your team, share with your TOSAs, share with your coordinators so that we can all work together to support our students.